Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New View podcast. My name is Mac.
And my name is Megan.
Come along with us as we dive into the world of competitive Irish dancing and beyond.
Sharing perspectives, developing community, and learning from each other.
We hope you enjoy.
Hello, we are so excited to have a special guest today, Hannah Logar, who is a world champion. And we're here to chat all things dancing and hear her story and her perspective, and we can't wait. So, Hannah, will you tell us a bit about your story in dancing, wherever you want to take it from, like your start up until now, or just whatever you want to say?
Absolutely. So I can start at the beginning for you. I started at age 4 at the rec center. Um, I stumbled into this quite by accident. My family has no connection to Irish dancing. We didn't know what it was. It was just on the list, and my mom loved the rec center. It was next to the library, and she was a big fan. So we were doing like tap dancing, baby ballet, you name it. And so my sister started first, and I was in tap at the time, and she was moving into hard shoes a lot quicker than I was getting the tap dancing. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do what she's doing. And that's kind of how it all started. And we didn't know about the competitions and the whole heritage side of things. I just really liked the music. I liked soft shoe a lot, and it grew on me. And now I'm here. Um, it just kind of went from there. But yeah, I've been dancing since I was very little. In high school, I had a wonderful carpool of kids because I wasn't very close to our studio, and we would drive an hour and a half each way to practice after school. The studio was never close by for me. And then when I went to college, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep going. The studio's never been like nearby, but that's okay. I was moving further away, and I was practicing more on my own, and started kind of a new journey with like stage anxiety, which I had never had before. And that was the first kind of hurdle in college, is practicing by myself a lot and figuring that out. And during COVID, we did Zoom classes, which was great for me. I was still down in Santa Barbara studying. That opened a lot of doors to keep going. And when I graduated, I moved to San Francisco, which is where my school is. It's where I always wanted to be. And now it's more of a challenge balancing work and dance, but that's kind of where I've ended up here now.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome story. And I guess for anybody who doesn't know, like Hannah and I have been dancing sort of in the same age group, I guess, in the last little bit. Hannah's a little bit younger than me, so I made it to senior ladies before her. But yeah, no, I didn't know that about you, that like, because you've always been with the same dancing school, right?
Yeah.
But that you were never like super close to your studio. I didn't realize that that was kind of one of the challenges you've had over the course of your career. But I think that probably really speaks to your dedication, and like obviously your passion for it, is that made it work no matter what. That's interesting because we had Aristea on a
I
couple
was
weeks
just
ago.
thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of fascinating to me. There's more people than I thought who are able to manage the challenge of not being super close to their studio. I'm like super spoiled. I am basically like a 10-15 minute drive to my studio. So it's kind of this crazy concept to me, the idea of like having to travel so much just to get to your studio. And I like commend you for that. I think that's pretty cool. So, you're working now, and like you've been competing and working at the same time. So what did you study in school? Like what's your occupation?
Oh, absolutely. I studied chemical engineering at Santa Barbara. Now I am a test engineer at a medical device company. So we're pretty small. We're going into our clinical trial. It's great. I love my job. I love the science. I love research, data collection, the whole thing. And that's here in the city, which I love. I've always wanted to live in San Francisco and work in San Francisco. So that is my 9 to 5. And then I skedaddle right across through the traffic to the studio for practice afterwards. Yeah.
That's amazing. to me
I
that you
know that's
have a 9 to 5 and then just get yourself to practice like that. That must be pretty grueling, like especially in the lead up to big majors and that kind of thing.
It is a challenge. I I always thought it would be easier than balancing dance with like college and studying, because that schedule is just so variable and it was hard to squeeze it in where you can find time in the day. But the main challenge now that my schedule is so set and it's the same kind of times for things each day is burnout. Like I feel the burnout of the same schedule each day. So
hmm.
the challenge moved from like how am I going to get this all in to the week to how am I going to stay excited about my same schedule every day. Um,
Yeah.
but it helps that each practice is different and my job is not very regular. Each day can bring a whole new surprises, so that's really helped.
What do you find like that you've learned from both of those kind of different aspects of doing dance, both as like a younger kid or in college and balancing school versus now working and dancing? Like, of course, there's really hard challenges, like you were just saying, but did it teach you anything like about yourself, if that makes sense? Just kind of like, oh, to be on top of your practicing or make time when you can, like in school. But I don't know. Have you learned anything like interesting about yourself and the dancing journey through that?
Yes, I think, well, and I think this also ties in with just where my dancing career has gone in the past few years. But I think in college and kind of balancing work with school and socializing and all of those things, it was a way to like let off steam and let off stress and
Mhm.
relax and be like, this is time just for me, where it's just me in the studio. And that was really valuable to have that time to myself. And now it's more like this is what you do as a life passion. Like you have work, you have your alone time, like your life is peaceful and this is what you're doing for passion. Like you're just passionate about it, you're going to keep going with it. um
That's really cool.
but it's also kind of, yeah, it's like trying to think of how to word this. I definitely think it's now turned into more of what I do to bring me joy, and I've steered my practices in that direction of like, okay, today I'm really not feeling like showing up because I'm tired. I've worked, I've done this, I've had a long week. There could be a lot of reasons, but it's showing up for myself day after day, just showing up for practice no matter what, and also saying, okay, you don't really feel like doing this right now, but you need to because tomorrow you're going to be so thankful that you did this. And so just do what's fun. Like today, I really want to just do this dance, and you can do that, and that's fine. And having that grace too. So I think like the relationship of what my like how I've practiced myself, especially in my alone time, has very much changed. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I think it's so interesting and I'm excited to get to talk to you just because like it sounds like and I think I can relate to this. It's like you've had this evolution of your experience in dancing and like there's been what sounds like pretty distinct like chapters, I guess. Is that fair to say? Um yeah, and I love what you just said just now in terms of like just the way you go about doing your practice because I don't know. When I was a kid, and I think Megan, I from conversations we've had, I know this is true for you too. It's like, you're in that competitive world and you identify so strongly as a dancer and a competitive dancer, and your results really mean something about you, and they still do mean something about you now, but um I think that can lend itself to like more rigid thinking and approaches to training. And then it's really interesting to see people who are maturing as individuals within dancing and how that affects the way you approach dancing. And just
Mhm.
where you're at in your life, it's you're working a 9 to 5 very demanding career, it sounds like. And so just the way you've been able to sort of reframe your approach to it. And I love that you said, because I have had the exact same experience actually of like, it was kind of like, no, I have to do all my dances and I have to whatever. And then now well, especially now, but you go in and you're like, no, you know what? I don't super want to do my set today. It doesn't feel like that's what needs to be. That's not what I'm passionate to do today. I'm not excited about that. And yeah, I guess there's some times when you just need to buckle down and do it. But I think there is something to be said for like, okay, what is alive in you today? Like what can you actually bring something out for today and kind of just building on that. I think that's really cool. Um, but yeah, I'm also curious too, how, like, do you find working your job has given you perspective in terms of competing and I don't know, just has it put it in a different perspective for you? Or maybe not even just your job, just,
Well,
getting to.
I was wondering that too, to add on to Mac's question, how you were saying like, oh, there was kind of a phase where like the performance anxiety was harder
Mm.
and stuff. And I guess we haven't really touched on that, but from like now I would gather that you're more like you're really passionate about it and super into it. So maybe that has like lessened. And I just wonder if like a new phase of adulthood and a combination of all those things and doing what you want to be passionate in it and practicing how you want kind of aids in all of that.
Now, these are really great questions. I would say that the lessons from dance carry over into work more than the other way around. Um, and I can start with like the performance anxiety side of things, which was really present for me at the beginning of college, especially knowing that I was practicing more on my own and I wasn't seeing my teachers as much. And it felt like it was all on me to get the practice in and make sure I'm still following through with things. Like there's no one holding your hand through this. So if I know that I
Yeah,
want,
you really gotta trust yourself.
yeah, like trust myself and also like have that discipline. And I kept thinking like, why are you so anxious now? You're putting in the same amount of practice, the same amount of time, but it's just you. And I was like, okay, I just need to trust myself more that I'm doing enough. And if I'm anxious about this or I'm stressed or nervous about a competition, the nerve was always like, well, maybe I haven't put in enough work. And if that's true, I should keep practicing until I feel like, okay, I feel really good about the preparation I've done. And
Hmm.
so I'm going to feel really good going into this competition. And then I think that carried through school and also work now of it's so natural to feel anxious and stressed about things when you feel like you haven't put all the groundwork in to really excel, but you'll get there eventually. And like that was such a big lesson for me. And yeah, I feel like dance has really taught me to trust myself and believe in myself more, no matter what stage I'm at with like professional skills. If you're earning a degree, anything in life, like you can work towards it and work towards it, and eventually you'll get there. But to be kind with yourself along the way, that was just like a huge lesson that I think carried from dance into more career and work. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like going to school and stuff, that's such a big jump from like your normal life when you're younger. Then all of a sudden I'm like, it's no wonder you were like, oh, this is all on me. This is so much to balance. And but that's such a valuable, like amazing lesson to learn and then to have those skills. So that's
Yeah.
a good job.
I think like a super interesting topic because I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I had this realization. I had like a back injury, and then I was coming back from this back injury, and I was really, kind of there was this big anticipation of coming back to competition, and I was so happy, but it was definitely nerve-wracking coming back to competition. But I had this realization sort of just as I was coming back was like. And I don't really quite know how this related to having time off or anything, but I just had this realization of like, I am alone on stage. Like, I am alone up there doing my thing. Like, yeah, there's another person on stage dancing, but, it's up to me. Like, I'm the one responsible for how this is going to go at the end of the day. And on the one hand, it's kind of like, well, ugh, that puts a lot of scary pressure.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
panic inducing that it's all up to you.
That's one way of interpreting it, but then my bigger realization was like that's actually kind of freeing because I don't have to rely or like hope that anybody else is going to do their part. It's like, no, like it can all be, it's all in my control. And I'm able to sort of make this be what it's going to be. And then beyond that, it's like, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do on stage. And then it's all still within my control in terms of how I'm going to interpret it and then go from there. And I don't know if that's just like a maturity thing or whatever, but it's kind of interesting. When you were talking, I was thinking about this experience that I had. Is like you kind of go through this phase of being like, oh my gosh, I'm alone and I gotta make this all happen and I gotta trust myself and I don't have my teachers just holding my hand or my parents like making my lunch or it's like it's all down to me and that's like really a lot at first, but
Mhm.
then you can kind of go beyond that. And it sounds like you totally have and been like, okay, I'm gonna figure out the strategies that work for me and like use that as sort of an empowering thing rather than
Yeah,
a,
it sounds like you've like balanced the pressure just right in terms of there doesn't need to be some like discipline in terms of like, oh gosh, this is all on me, like I got to do this. But
Mhm.
it can be easily reframed to like a more enjoyable idea where you're like, okay, like I get to do this. I have the privilege of doing this work and doing what works for me and being in charge of my journey and all of this. So it's just interesting to think about. And definitely, like, as you get older, you kind of realize, oh, like, yeah, this is on me, whether it's practicing or school stuff or whatever. I think that's just the beauty of dance and school and life kind of all mixed together. We always talk about dance being our like vessel for learning about life. And I think that's a really good example of one of the ways it shows up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that all being said of kind of having this realization of, personal responsibility, I do want to say, like, yes, you're alone when you're on stage, but we're not alone as dancers. And I know you have got a really cool relationship with your dancing teacher, and your mom is like super supportive of your dancing career. I've been fortunate to have some really nice chats with your mom at dancing competitions. But yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your support network, sort of?
Absolutely. My mom has always been there for me from the very start of this journey. She is my number one supporter. I know I'm an adult and I take care of myself, but she is always there at the feshes, and thank God for that. She's always right there by my side, and I am very lucky to have two fantastic teachers that support me and truly do feel like second moms. Um, and we do have a pretty small school and we are very, very close knit. And I think that is a large reason why I'm still dancing. Obviously, I have so much passion for it and I love it. But it's also like a family. And I'm like, those are my girls. Like, that's my team. And I want
Mhm.
to stay on that team. Like, we're all in this together. And that's just been, yeah, it's been huge. I'm sure you guys relate to that feeling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, it becomes your community, and I think, as you become an older dancer too, I know I have, and Hannah and Megan, I'm sure you guys have considered this too, is like how, my role in this isn't always going to be exactly the same, and how am I going to sort of maintain my connection to this thing and my place in this community that is like this safe support network and place where we like create and share meaning. And I think that's really cool that you've got sort of this like smaller, tight-knit experience. And that's so cool that you've been with them since the very start. And they've kind of been there, like witnessing and creating this whole career with you. And I think it's like you've had lots of success over the course of your career, but you kind of had like you've had some of your biggest years sort of towards the end. So can you speak a little bit about like what has that been like, just having these kind of really big years and sharing these exciting, you know, results and moments with all your people and even just for yourself too? What's that been like?
Absolutely. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. I think I'm still trying to convince myself that everything has really happened this way. I think it really made me think a lot about why I've been dancing my whole life. I didn't really know I was working towards what I've achieved. That was never like the goal. It was always just like, I like this, I'm gonna keep going. I like improving on this. That's so fun. Like this is so rewarding
Mhm.
to feel myself get better when I work on something. And then it slowly, very quickly after COVID, turned into like a pinch me of like, oh, and now I have a globe. And then I was like, what? What? And I was lucky enough, I had my aunt and my cousins had come to Ireland for the Worlds to watch me, which was so sweet. And so they were there and we didn't have any expectations. And so I had my whole family there. And that was a huge moment for me of being like, oh, if you want to work towards the top, like I guess that would be what you're working towards. Um,
Yeah.
and that was really exciting. Yeah, I feel like that was when my mentality started to shift towards really the competitive side of things. I was always competitive, but then it was more like, okay, if you really want to set your mind on something big, like if you want to podium place, if you want all these other things, like you can go after it and you have this support team that will help you get there, which was fantastic. And then after last year, when I won the worlds, it all kind of was like, okay, well, now what? It was a feeling I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys relate. It's like, oh, oh, now what? Like now you're no longer working towards that final, like this is that's it. That's it. And then it was this kind of feeling of like, well, now that entire competitive motivation has kind of gone into the background. And what I was left with was this is my passion, this is my joy. And it was just right in front of me. And I was like, so now you're doing this just because you love it. And so that is what I'm working on now is like I love to do this and I'm showing up at the studio as someone who loves to do this. I'm going to do what I love and what is making me really happy. I'm following that path. And if the same results follow, that is great. But now it's like now I can let that rest. I'm just like having a really great time.
I
I
I
love that.
yeah, I can't even. It's really interesting for me to hear your perspective on all this. And I want to say, like, you know, clearly we've been dancing against each other, right? And like, just it is what it is. And I think, like, to me, getting to have this conversation and just genuinely be so, like, supportive and excited for one another, like, I
Mhm.
just want more of this because I'm the first to admit that like I think I had maybe like a little bit of a different perspective and approach to dancing earlier in my career than you, Hannah, because I like clearly had in my mind from the time I can like I understood what the World Championships was. So it was like I am the first to admit that I felt like it was like me against the world and all my competitors. Like it wasn't like I wanted to like super like honestly, I didn't have that like maturity to be like, no, this is such a gift to like share this experience with these people. And so it's really cool to hear your perspective and then how it all came to be for you because it was a different experience for me and it was a different experience for Megan. And we've all three had the same thing happen, right? And so that's amazing to me that we've all had these like cool parallel but different but the same kind of journeys to this thing. And then from there, like I just want to scream your perspective like from the rooftops in that you were like, yeah, I won the worlds and now like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I get to do my thing just for the love of it. And like I've ticked that box and that's really awesome and great, but like now I just get to love my thing. And I don't know. I'll ask you, like, is there still, as much as you, I'm sure, like, authentically hold that perspective, and I love it so much, like, did you find after you'd won and you'd won things, like, do you feel like that's ever in the back of your mind of like, oh, there's kind of this expectation, this pressure, like, and if there is, like, how do you deal with that?
That is such a good question. And obviously there is like you can't achieve these types of things and not have that feeling of pressure. And
Hmm.
I was mulling over this for like the past year, especially leading up to this year's Worlds of like, okay, well the pressure's here and it's not gonna go away. And like it is what it is. And what are you gonna do with it? Because then it was like, okay, well, there's this pressure that I still have to stay at this level and get the same results. And the fear there was like, well, what if this crazy thing happens? Or like, what if I get on stage and this thing happens? And I was like, you know what? Anything can happen. Like the way
Mhm.
that I kind of tackled this is I was like, if you're gonna imagine all of the terrible things that could happen on competition day, if you can imagine the worst case scenario, like you tank, you can imagine you get last. You have to play both sides fair. This is my mom speaking to me. She's like, well,
Oh, I love
you have
that.
to be fair. You have to imagine the best case scenario. Like if you're going to start making up scenarios and you're only focusing on the worst case, the best case could also happen and you could crush it and your hard work could pay off and everything could go well and they play your favorite tune and like all of those things could also happen and you just don't know. You just don't know. Like you can only do what you do every single day to prepare. And then when the day finally comes, anything could happen. You could wake up with COVID. You could wake up like anything could happen. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so there's no point in even thinking about that. I was like, that's at least what worked for me. But I'm very curious what you guys kind of thought about that pressure because it has to be there and
Yeah.
part of it.
Well, first of all, I just want to repeat that because I want to remember that you have to play both sides fair. I love
Yeah,
that
that was great.
so
That was
much.
a
That's
good
such a good one.
one.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I don't, Megan, you go ahead. You can answer that question first.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't expecting to answer my own questions. But I don't know. I definitely like identified with what you were saying in terms of like it's kind of like this release all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I did it." Like, what else now? Like, I don't know. And I guess I was almost similar to you but different, Hannah, in that maybe you were like released from that pressure but then kind of found like not some passion, but like you came back to that, oh, I'm doing this for these reasons. I definitely spent a lot of time just like in the middle of nowhere, like, why am I doing this? Like, what's going on, you know? Because it happens, the unbelievable happens, and you're like, oh, now what? Like, I don't know. That was my whole life's work. And I definitely was similar to Mac in that I was like from day one, like this is my dream. I spend like every second thinking about this. And then it happens, and you're like, that was amazing. That was everything I hoped. But at the same time, like, I don't
And
really
there,
know who I am now, you know? Like, uh-oh, gotta make some more dreams. Awesome. And I know that sounds crazy, but I guess that could be relatable for any dancer, whether you're like trying to reach the next level or whatever, or qualify for open or qualify for the worlds. You do it and then you're like, okay, what next? Like I hadn't really planned for this actually happening, you know?
Mhm.
So I definitely spent a lot of time just in the middle, like not really knowing what's going on. But I think I'm kind of slowly coming around to your approach, Hannah, of like, you know what? I'm lucky to be in this position. I'm so proud to have achieved this result that I've always dreamed of. And it's truly unbelievable that I accomplished my dream in life. And I have a whole like wonderful life left to live. So I've got like some great dreams to fulfill. And I love dancing. So I should keep doing it and keep having fun with it. But I have to make having fun the priority and the enjoyment the most important aspect of it. Otherwise, it does become like you were saying, just that unbelievable pressure of like, oh, I can't do this. I can't stay at that same level and all of that. So I don't know. I feel like I'm a combination of the two of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been so grateful to have this like long career in this thing, and yeah, I think it's interesting to me. There's a theme that keeps coming up in what we're talking about. It's like recognizing you get to be the writer of your story. Like you get to decide what it all means. And so you can decide that having one or whatever, or not having one, you can decide that that's like something that's adding more pressure or that's making this, an unenjoyable experience. Or you can decide to come back to what you were saying, Hannah's like, I just love this thing. And I don't really know why, maybe, but I just do. I was put here to love this thing and make my mark on this thing and contribute to this thing. And, it's a choice for how, like, the value you choose to derive from it and what meanings you choose to make from it. And I, for me, honestly, getting to have conversations like this, I think is this cool new way that I feel like I'm getting to derive value from my experience in Irish dancing, and I'm still learning. Like it's we have so much to help each other with, I think, by sharing our perspectives and experiences. And, you know, again, I always like to come back to like, Hannah, so I think you have such a unique presence on stage. Like you really do. And I have been doing I've just been reflecting on this a lot. I'm super obsessed with Lainey Wilson right now. And I think it's funny that you said that it's been a whirlwind since you won and
I noticed that right away. I knew you'd.
I keep going, I'm like, why? Like, what is it about her that I just love so much? I'm like attracted to watching that. It's just, and I think it's like she seems to have tapped into like this authentic part of herself that's like, obviously she's performing. She's not going to be like that in her day-to-day life, but that's a really cool thing that I think she does when she's singing or whatever. And I think you have that when you are on stage dancing, like you just look like
It's an
you're
experience. It's not like
yeah.
just
Yeah.
the performance and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and I just wonder to what extent that's been conscious, that you've cultivated like that authentic love of what you're doing, and that's just like that's what's coming through on stage. Or if it's just happening, like that's cool too. I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, that is so sweet of you. That is, I'm really flattered. I think I think it's that I'm trying to have fun up there.
Yeah.
I've never been good about hiding how I feel about things. Like if I'm not unhappy, I might not say anything, but like you can see it on my face. So that's another thing my mom's always told me. She's like, you have to have fun up there because it really shows when you're having a
You're not.
and I'm like, yeah, I know. I can't hide it. Like if and it ties into the whole like I'm doing this for fun and I'm steering my practices in the way that are making me happy. It feels all like the same thing to me of like if I am having a good time on stage, first of all, it's gonna show it's hopefully you can see it, hopefully. But that's also the experience that I want to have and like you were saying about writing your own story, it's like I want to have fun up there. Like
Mhm.
I want to enjoy that time and take it all in. It's so short. The time on stage you get is so short and compared
Yeah.
to all of the time you can spend in the studio and classes, cross training, all of that, and then you get this little snippet on stage. I want to enjoy it. I'm like, this is a front row ticket to my life. I'm gonna be beaming away up there. I'm like, this is it. I don't know if you guys feel the same way or
Yeah.
like if you think about the same thing on stage, but I'm like, I'm enjoying the show.
Well, yeah, and that doesn't surprise me in the slightest that you say that because that's what comes across. And that's interesting to me that your mom has had that observation of like you really gotta make like prioritize having fun because we can all tell if you're not.
Yep.
Uh, I've had the same feedback, but just mostly for like in class, you can tell if I'm not in a good mood. Sorry, everybody, but no, yeah, I would say to an extent I have a similar experience and not always, like definitely not always. I'm not always having the best time when I'm up there, just because that's how it is for me. I do feel really lucky, like from the Worlds this year. I my set dance for me like that's a special piece like for me it's like very much like part of the culture of my dancing school and there's a huge history behind that and I just like so identify with that piece of music. I have like 76 tattooed on my heel like anyways um and it was a special moment that like my teacher was playing and like he said to me before I went backstage, he's like, let's go make some art, and I was like, and so for me, I'm like, that blows my mind that I am in that position to like even have that experience. And so I think for me, it's a little bit like you are so fortunate to be in this position to have a special moment like this. Like, don't let it go to waste. And if I'm really honest, like it was kind of an out of body experience doing it because you're just like, I'm at the Worlds and like this is happening and I got to like execute and whatever. But yeah, I think what I'm learning by talking to you and just talking all of this through is like it's so important for dancers to prioritize like or not even prioritize, but like just stay true to like, hey, like you gotta love this thing and you gotta tap into that whenever you can when the opportunity arises. And that's for your own benefit and for everyone else's benefit around you because clearly like we can smell it and feel it off each other, right? So I don't know.
And
That's
at the end of the day, too, like that's your personal win, whether or not you win. I think like
totally.
a lot of where the New View name comes from is like Mac and I kind of had a very long conversation about this, but I was just talking about how the year that I won Worlds in 2024, it was like I looked out from on top of the podium and was like, oh my gosh, this is like a crazy thing. Like I imagined this moment and always wanted to achieve this and this result and like be standing at the top of the podium. But the reality of actually doing that, it's less about like me feeling like, oh, I just won, I'm the best, but more like you see all your people and you see like what beauty all of this holds and like that it really is art and this amazing thing. So sounds like you've got a good view.
No, and that's such a good point. Like the view from the top of the podium is like is its own other world. But I think it especially reminds me that this is like a communal experience that we have with our competition. And who
Yeah.
would we be without the competition? And it's really like such a specific experience in life, but you wouldn't get to have it if you weren't experiencing it with all these other people. And I feel like this especially comes through in senior ladies, this respect for each other and why we're all doing this in our own reasons. Um, and it truly at this point, like to see it is an art form, definitely. And Mac, by the way, that set was art. That was absolutely art. You were so right. Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to like make it about that, but
It
thank
was just
you. Yeah.
it was gorgeous. And it's true that when music really moves you and like you know you're creating something special and just meaningful, it that also comes across.
Well,
Yeah, it's just like purely you and your story. And I think kind of what Hannah, you were just saying, kind of like senior ladies has that vibe as an outside observer, because I'm not in senior ladies, like, and I always watch the competition and everything. You kind of get that vibe from a lot of dancers, just sort of like, this is like a meaningful thing. Like, I'm still here, I'm still showing up, and I like this for all my own unique personal reasons. And this is my story, and this is how I do it. And I just think that's kind of cool. Like, I don't
yeah.
know, most people don't get that in their life. And to have a whole group of people, I always like watching it, and it's inspiring to be like, oh, this is cool. Like, all these different people. It's really fun to watch as someone who's moving in that direction.
Well, I think senior ladies is cool because, like I said, I don't know, I've done a few senior ladies now, and but I'm like, I'm the older end even of the senior ladies, and so it kind of changes, right? Because like as you're growing up and dancing, you're kind of like with the same people the whole time until the end, and then there's all these change ups, and that's can be quite scary and whatever. But I felt, standing on that podium this year was so cool because I truly felt I was like, I've contributed to this thing I love alongside these other beautiful humans who have also contributed to this thing. And I think you're totally right, Hannah, with what you said is like this is a communal thing and it can feel like we're just doing our own things and whatever, but Irish dancing would not look like it looks like today without like all the contributions of different people and in the sense of pushing each other, but creatively speaking as well. And I think I love to focus on that as like we're collectively creating this living and breathing piece of art that's continuously evolving. And as much as competition is hard to navigate and can be quite like difficult, it's really kind of the vehicle for that, I think. I don't know if you guys feel that.
No,
Have
totally. And
you?
I mean, it's hard to always frame it in like the, whoa, competition is beautiful aspect, because sometimes you're like, dang, I just want to like do well. But if you can, I think you two are probably definitely more mature than me. So you have more experience with just being able to appreciate that. And again, that's what I think is cool about senior ladies, like just hearing you two talk, Hannah, hearing you like reach that state where it's just fueled by passion. And like Mac, you're there too. It's more than showing up and like seeing who the very best is. It's about like the story, and everyone has their own like distinct vibe in senior ladies. You can tell like on stage, like it's just
Yeah,
more of a story. I like
cool.
it.
Um, well, speaking of like continuing the love for it and, just prioritizing that, what's next for you, Hannah? Like what are your plans for dancing and how you see yourself fitting into this cool piece of communal art that we're all creating?
Jeez. I plan to keep going at least for a little bit with competing. I've always just had the feeling that like I'll know when I'm done.
Yeah.
I know if I stopped now, I'd be so bummed. I would be so
Yeah.
bummed. And as long as this brings me joy, it is what I will do. Um, and so yeah, I'll probably keep going for a while. As long as my body lets me. We start to get creaky in senior ladies a little bit. And I'm currently studying to get my TC, which will be really exciting. And that's kind of on my list of things. Yeah,
That's cool. That's so awesome. Well, I'm really happy to hear you're continuing on and it's still bringing you joy and you're still on that track because I do believe that you've got some more to shine on stage with and to share with all of us. So I'm looking forward to getting to watch that a little bit more. And yeah, that's so cool that you're gonna write your teachers and then that's like a whole nother thing you can transition into and that'll be like another way to, like I said, like sort of stay connected into this whole amazing thing that we all love so much. So, yeah, that's awesome. Well, you guys, this has been a really cool conversation, and I'm super inspired, and I feel really privileged to just have had this chat, and to get to record it for whoever wants to listen and hopefully get some, value out of it. But it's been a blast, and thanks so much for joining us, Hannah.
of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was great, and I love that we're having these conversations about things. Like there's just so much to talk about here about this life passion that we share, and especially it being such a specific experience. Like this has been great. So
Thanks for joining us in this episode of the New View podcast. We hope you enjoyed.
If you have any ideas about future guests we should interview or want to connect, you can find us on Instagram at newview.collective or email us at newviewcollective.mm@gmail.com.